Hi everyone, I'm going to talk about a knitting machine today. I recently purchased this little brother knitting machine. It's a vintage one. It's called a Brother Knit. You may have seen this one on eBay every now and then, or in the secondhand store or garage sales or estate sales. These sometimes come in with a different model number and name, and this particular one is marked as Brother Knit. Now I understand Brother Knit also has different model numbers, so it means depends on the accessories, special features of the knitting machine. It can go from number 30 something to 100 something. So there are different models out there. But on this particular machine, there's no other markings other than just Brother Knit. I've seen other sewing machines with similar features. You will see them with different names or model names such as KH-32 or KH-35. Or I've seen another one is almost identical. It's called a Wonder Knit. So it could come in a different marking or model numbers. But overall, these machines, they have the same or similar features and accessories and attachments to it. So now I have this on the table. It looks rather large, but it is not. So if you go look at it, the knitting machine itself is actually very small. And this is one of the reasons I picked it up, because most of my metal bed, full-size metal beds, are a lot bigger than this. You see, if you look at this one, it's not quite 35 inches long, the entire case. Okay, so if you look at the width of it, is about 5 inches wide. It's only about 2 inches high. So it's a really, really small and cute sewing machine. Not sewing machine, knitting machine. That's one of the reasons I picked it up. And also, this particular machine has all sorts of gadgets and tools in it, so I thought it was very cool. So I'm going to turn the machine around and open it. I'll show you what's inside. Okay, I just flip it open, and ta-da! That's the knitting machine inside. And it has all sorts of gadgets in there that comes with the knitting machine. I keep saying sewing machine because I mostly do sewing machines, but today I'm just going to do a knitting machine for a change. So anyway, and you can see the main bed itself is even shorter than the case. It has a very small carriage. The carriage has a handle. And then with this machine, you can make it a little bit longer by extending this extension bed by flipping it open. Okay, it has some accessories. I'm going to take it open one at a time. I'm going to show you what's in it. Now, if you're ever interested in buying one of these knitting machines, and you may want to know if the machines actually come with all the accessories and attachments and tools that you need to do your knitting. Because what happens when you get something incomplete is extremely difficult to replace these parts or tools and attachments. So I strongly recommend do your homework, find out if the knitting machines you're going to get is complete before you do the investment, or you'll just have another knitting machine sitting under your bed or in your basement for many more years to come. Okay, so I'm going to put this on a tripod. It's going to be difficult because this thing is still rather long compared to a sewing machine, so I keep panning the camcorder left and right, but I'm going to put it on a tripod and see if I still can see the most part of it. Alright, let me set it up. Okay, I tried, but it didn't work. Having this camcorder on a tripod, it's just the viewing angle is very limited, so I'll try to use just one hand to release all the parts and accessories out and see if I can hold the camcorder at the same time without shaking the camcorder too much. I'm going to start from this end. Okay, this round thing here is a roll counter. Oh, just undo the screw, better don't lose it. Well, unlike most of the roll counters these days, more modernized, the display number. This one is like a thermometer. So you see there is a red needle and a yellow needle. Okay, so the yellow needle will move 1 mark each row, and then when it goes all the way around once, and the red needle will move 1 mark. That's how you remember, how you can tell how many revolutions and how many rows you have been knitting. Okay, so this one actually goes on here. Okay, so I'm going to put it aside here. And on top of this, I'm not going to take this out. This is a cast-on combs, and in the beginning I couldn't quite figure out how to use it because it looks very much like ribbon comb. Like when you use a ribbon attached to your main bed, this is what you use in most of the Japanese machines that you see, such as Singer and Brothers. So when I first saw these, and I thought, how on earth I'm going to use it for casting on? But I sort of figured that out. There's a few things that I need to work out the details and make sure it works smoothly. But right now I think I know the purpose of this. And this is just a brush. This is just a ruler. And I'm going to take it out. Okay. And this is, of course, the handle for the carriage. Alright. And this is the yarn rod. Okay. And that's pretty much on the top lid. Okay, on the main bed, I have this pouch right here. What's inside? Some spare needles. Okay, I have these tools. Put it over here. And right here, I have table clamps, 2 of them. And then I have claw weights. These are pretty heavy claw weights. Right there. Okay. And then I also have additional weights. These are like little cones. Okay. Alright. I suppose you can use it to put on additional weight on the piece when you're knitting. And right here is all the tools, all the transfer tools, and then the pushers, and then the hook. I have the 1-3, another 1-3, that's a 1-2, that's a 2-3, and then I have all these pushers or rulers, what do you call them, and then of course the mandatory crochet hook. Okay, what else in there? Okay, that's pretty much. Of course the carriage, and then with the 2 brackets. So let's see if I can take the machine, move it out with one hand, because you cannot knit it when it's in the case. So when you want to knit, you have to move the machine forward. Oh, one more thing. Oh, but let me take it out first. Okay, so you lift it up. You move it forward. Now, the machine's out. Okay. And for the clowns, these guys, it goes underneath. Right there, or there. So now the main bed is out. And now if I want to knit, I'm going to extend this guide and this one a little bit. So the carriage can go all the way to the side, and you can use the last needle that you want to use. And let me see, this is 92, so it's 184 needles altogether. Okay, this is the whole bit. Now the carriage, it has 4 different count positions, and then this is pretty much just determined how close or how loose your knits is going to be. And then these 2 brackets, they can come off by removing these screws. And the purpose of these 2 is to control, to accommodate different weight of yarns. So if you have heavier yarns, you're supposed to loosen this up and pull the brackets out towards yourself a little bit more. The bigger the yarn, the further this bracket is supposed to come out. So you must knit. Based on my experience so far, I have been using rather thin 3-ply cone yarn. I have to have these brackets on. Without them it's almost impossible because the loops are popping out all over the place. So you see there is a piece of yarn tying up there because there's a flaw on this particular machine. This brush right here was very loose. It was like popping left and right when I moved the carriage, and also it was tilting up and down. Well, it's supposed to move, but it's not supposed to be very loose, because when it's very loose, when it pops up like this, and then the yarn, you have very little control of the yarn. The purpose of the brush is holding the yarn between the brush and the bracket itself, so the yarn will be fed onto the latch of the needles. But if this brush is popped up and the yarn will be too loose, that will not get fed in, so then you will have all these skip stitches everywhere. So it's very important. And then this thing was very, very loose. So I probably in the future will use something like blue tack or something to make it a little bit stiffer. But for now, I'm just using a piece of yarn to tie it to make sure it will knit properly. So by doing this little trick, I managed to make a small sample of knitting. So far it's working. And then this right here. This is the trigger for the row counter. See, there's a row counter comes up here. Okay, let me see if I can show you. Okay, now the row counter is up, and I have this trigger all the way out. So every time when I move the carriage over, I don't know if you can see. You see that? Now that's how you trigger the row counter. Okay, so of course, in order to use your machine properly, you need to put this on the handle. There you go. Just like that. Okay, before I start knitting, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you, is this little piece of metal. Okay. When I first got this knitting machine, all the pieces are out. They are not inside the case, and they were not in the proper placement. So I couldn't really quite figure what goes where and what they're for. And I saw this long piece of thing. I was like, what the heck is this? This is not the yarn rod. And I finally, after putting all the pieces together, and this thing will only fit on one place, is right here. Okay, operating with one hand's proven very difficult. So now I finally have this carriage put on the bed with both hands, which is a lot easier. So, and then now the carriage can go left and right very smoothly. Okay. So I'm going to pull some needles out in the non-working position. Okay, let's see if you can see that. Slow motion. Go slowly. Okay. Like that. Okay. So there's one more thing. I'll check it out. The yarn rod. Now this thing I'm not sure. This obviously is your yarn rod that you put the yarn through one of these, and it goes on here. Okay. So now this is on top. Now this is a very peculiar setup. You see other models, such as the 35 or 32, they have a little bit different yarn rod. Some of them was just like a loop, like a little curly piggy tail. And some newer models, they actually have the tension mask. And there must be a certain configuration when you put the yarn in there, or you can use maybe 3 different yarns in different colors at the same time. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to get this figured out. But for now, I can just use one yarn at a time. I just loop it around and create a little bit of tension, and feed the yarn to the yarn feeder right here and down there. And that's pretty much how I do it. One more thing about this knitting machine, just like most knitting machines, it also has a needle retainer bar. So if you look to the side of this, it's right here. You can't really see it from here, so I'm going to go to the other side. In order to see the retaining bar, you have to put this extension back up. Okay, so right here. See this? This is the retaining bar. This is a needle bar. And there's also a piece of strip, a really thin strip of metal on top of it to increase the pressure down to the needles. So this bar, particularly bar, actually it is used, because most of these machines you see, like the Japanese, like the Singers and Brothers, or studios or other names, usually they use a sponge. But this one is not a sponge. This one is actually a piece of felt. Now, when I took it out and I thought, it didn't look too bad, but I have other problems, so I actually removed the felt, and that was a mistake because it took me forever to put the felt back in. Well, when I put the felt back in and I figured out the problem is actually from this, and so that was extra work for me, but it was a good lesson. So anyway, so in order to check your needle bar, you have to push it from one end to the other. So you use a screwdriver or a small pencil or something, just push it in. So and this will pop out from the other end. So, once you have enough length to get a grip on it, you just pull it out. So that's how you inspect the condition of your bar, of your felt. So far, this knitting machine, I'm not sure if it has something to do with the fact that it was stored upside down. So the retaining bars, the felt's actually in pretty good condition. So I didn't really have to do anything about it. So far so good. But in the future, I will run into a problem when the felt actually goes flat, then I will have to cover with something else. So another thing is, in order to extend the lifespan of your retaining bar, the felt or sponge or whatever material it is to keep the needles in place, I have a suggestion to how to prolong, to make it give it a little bit more life. So after each project, what I would do, I will push the bar one side or the other, just off a little bit. So what it is, so by moving the bar off, so the needles won't be rubbing on the same area at the same time all the time. So every project, say one sweater and I'm making something else, I'm going to push the bar off just like a couple of millimeters. Just push it off the original position, so these needles, when they're being pushed in and out, they're rubbing on the same spot, right? So if you're moving the bar on top of it a little bit, the piece of felt on top a little bit, so now these same needles will be rubbing a different spot. Okay, so that your felt will eventually still go, but this will allow you to maintain your felt or your sponge a little bit longer to give a little bit more life. Okay, see what else I have. The next thing is I'm going to show you how to pack it back up, because when I first got it, all the pieces are loose and it's impossible to pack it. I think the reason the previous owner stored it upside down because they couldn't figure out how to put everything back together. The only way to put most of the items back inside was to keep the machine upside down. So I'm going to show you how to pack it back, and most of the models are pretty much the same. You see a few odd items, they shape differently, but most of them pretty much you will see the idea, the concept is the same. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the tripod, and hopefully it will catch whatever I'm going to show you.